I first heard about Andrew Huberman after an episode on the Joe Rogan podcast, and the amount of knowledge that he has in terms of human optimization, brain function, just overall well-being, it inspired me to take some of his recommended habits and put them into my own daily routine. In this video, I spent 7 days implementing several of the routines that Andrew recommends into one daily routine, and I want to share that experience with you guys. At the end of this video, I'll recap the experience, give some of my thoughts and recommendations, and hopefully it'll help you design your own routine. Let's get into the video.
All right, about 5:47, just woke up. Andrew mentions that when you wake up, the first thing you want to do is make a beeline to get some bright light in your eyes. Now, if the sun isn't up when you wake up, he says do this with some artificial light. So I turned on every light that I have in my studio, and I'm going to sit in here about 5 to 10 minutes. That's about the recommended time frame that he mentions to get the bright light in your eyes. He also makes a note that you still want to do this when the sun actually comes out. He said there's no replacement for sunlight. Now, I've been in here for maybe 5 minutes already, and I'm already feeling energized, more alert. The cool part about the light in your eyes is actually the science behind it, and it has something to do with the cortisol pulse. And I'll explain it at the end of this video when we recap the whole routine. What's on deck is I'm going to go make some salt water, throw a little lemon in there, and then we've got a list of other things. So I'll catch you guys here in just a bit. Having a little salt water in the morning. Actually tastes pretty good. It actually tastes really refreshing first thing in the morning. It definitely feels like you're hydrating yourself rather than going straight for the coffee. I know that's what I typically do when I wake up. Andrew mentions that drinking the salt water is important first thing in the morning because it raises that cortisol without stressing your adrenals. But this is why he has it as one of the first things you do in the morning. So I'm gonna finish this salt water. I've got about 10 minutes that I need to hit of exercise. Shouldn't be too bad. Then I've got a cold shower. I'll catch you guys in a sec. So the sun still isn't up. Got to get my 10 minutes of exercise in. Andrew mentions that you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone if you go out for a walk or for a run or whatever you want to do for that 10 minutes and get your sunlight in. But since it's not out right now, I'm just going to hop on the treadmill here. I'm going to get about 10 minutes of a jog in, get the heart rate up, get a little sweat on. So I'm going to hit this, and I'll catch you guys right after I'm finished. Ten minutes of movement done, nothing crazy, just enough to break a sweat. Got the heart rate up a little bit, breathing hard. So far, I'm actually feeling pretty good. This is much more alert than what I usually feel like in the mornings. So far, I'm loving this routine, and I feel like the principles so far are very easy to implement. I've got this cold shower next, so I know my adrenaline's gonna be up once I get out of that. So I only expect to feel even better wrapping up this morning routine, and then we'll move on. Sunlight's creeping out a little bit, so this is the perfect time to get a little sunlight in my eyes and walk the dogs while I'm at it. So a quick little 10-minute walk, and we'll get into that yoga nidra. Just finished up getting some sunlight. Now I'm about to start this yoga nidra. So I've never done yoga nidra before, so I don't really know what to expect. I know from the research that I've done, it refers to yogic sleep, or a state of consciousness between waking and sleeping. And it's usually led with a guided meditation, at least what I've seen. So I'm excited to try this out. What I've typically done in the past is just traditional meditation or visualization. But let's get into it. Actually enjoyed that quite a bit. I've never really done any guided meditation, so that was actually something that kind of let me hit that next level of relaxation and just being present rather than me guiding myself through it. But as far as now, I'm feeling extremely centered, ready to put in some deep work, some deep focused work, and get some stuff done. Now I'm about to start the deep work part of Andrew's routine. On this part, he mentions that it should be 90 minutes of deep, uninterrupted work followed by 30 minutes of total rest. No distraction with looking at your phone or trying to get your mind continuously stimulated. That 30 minutes is made to completely decompress. Now, I want to make a quick note about caffeine. So Andrew mentions that you shouldn't have caffeine until 90 to 120 minutes after you wake up. And the reason for that is because when you wake up and you go straight for caffeine, you tend to crave more. And throughout the morning, you've had a ton of coffee, more than you probably need. Now, there's some science behind this, and I'll explain it more in detail at the end of the video, but Andrew talks about how this blocks adenosine. And adenosine is that chemical that's released in your brain that makes you feel tired. So when you continuously take in caffeine, it basically blocks that adenosine. I'm sure I butchered that a little bit, but I'll explain it a little more in detail at the end of the video. So if you want to get your coffee, your tea, whatever it is, load up on the caffeine right now. We've been up for a little while. It's time to start the deep work.
Couple sessions of deep work done. Now it's time to break the fast. I'm pretty hungry. I don't usually fast, so Andrew does intermittent fasting, and he usually eats between 11 a.m. and noon. It's just after noon right now, so we're gonna get some ground bison, a little bit of vegetables, some cheese. We're gonna mix into a bowl, and maybe a little salt and pepper, and we'll eat it that way. He doesn't usually eat too many carbs around this lunchtime meal because it leaves him feeling groggy, tired, and he's trying to keep his energy up. He's mentioned that he usually keeps his bigger intake of carbs towards that dinner time meal. So let's get to cooking that. Just finished up lunch. I'm actually feeling pretty good. I know a lot of times in the past when I'd have a heavy lunch, more carb heavy, I would get that crash and I would feel a little bit bogged down, a little bit drained, and I'm not feeling that at all. I'm actually feeling very energized. So I'm looking forward to the second half of the day and seeing how that feels. I know that Andrew likes to do some NSDR or non-sleep deep rest to start off the second half. So right before I do my deep work, I'm gonna do 10 minutes of that. I'll jump into that deep work, 30 minutes of idle time, and then I'm gonna hit the gym. I know Andrew likes to wrap up at about 4:30 in the afternoon, so that'll be about that time. And I'll see you guys at the gym. Work day is done. Now it's time to do some fun stuff. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit my workout. Andrew typically likes to work out in the late morning, which it works well for his schedule, but it doesn't really work that great for mine. So I'm gonna try to hit my workout every day at that 4:30 time slot. That's gonna work out perfect because Andrew's dinner is typically a higher carbohydrate meal, so that'll work out perfect for post-workout recovery. Now, the structure of the workouts really depends on what he's doing for that day. So he likes to alternate every other day with weight training and then some type of cardio in between. So if you go like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, it's a upper body push. Wednesday would be an upper body pull, and then Friday would be legs. Those days in between, he likes to do some cardio work, which he's mentioned that the higher intensity workouts are a little bit easier for him. So he likes to go for more of a 45-minute type of long, slow distance type of training. So he'll slap on a vest and he'll go for a walk or a ruck. And that's really what he does for his cardio. But for today, I'm actually gonna be lifting a little bit. So I'm gonna throw down the weights. My upper body's a little bit sore, so I'm gonna actually start with the lower body day, and I'll do my consecutive days as an upper body push and then an upper body pull. So let's jump in. Finishing up day one. So it's about 7 o'clock, winding down, starting to dim the lights a little bit. Andrew recommends no screen time before bed, at least a couple hours. So I'm looking forward to seeing what my rest looks like without screen time. I'm generally pretty bad about turning off the screens, even in bed. So this is new for me. I'm excited to try it. As far as the late afternoon, evening went, I got the workout done, just hopped out of the shower, and now I'm cooking dinner. The dinner I'm having is a loaded baked potato with some butter, some cheese, a little chicken, and we'll throw some broccoli on the side. Andrew recommends, or he doesn't recommend, but he typically follows a lower carbohydrate meal, like I mentioned, at lunch, and a higher carbohydrate meal at night. And the reason for that is he doesn't want that carbohydrate fatigue that you sometimes get if you eat too many carbs at lunch. So for night, it's perfect. Ready to get started on that. As far as the day, overall, day one, I'm loving this routine. I'm loving really every part about it because it has a lot of things that I've never done. And it's introducing me to a lot of things that I've never even known about. So, for example, waking up and getting light in your eyes first thing, that was something that I noticed immediate impact on. And it's crazy because a lot of those things you hear, you read, it's like, oh, is that a placebo or something like that? But I'm really excited to see how the next 7 days go on this routine and seeing if these results continue to have the same effect or if they dwindle. But either way, this is a great experience, so I'm excited for it. Now, one thing I didn't mention that I want to touch on before we close out day one is that Andrew likes to do a one cognitively hard thing and then one physically hard thing every day. So for me, my cognitively hard thing that I did today was I'm taking a course for After Effects, which is an editing software that helps you with motion graphics and just upping the level of your videos. So I did a module on that, and the course is like a 10-hour course. So I finished up one of the modules on there today. That was my cognitively hard thing. My physically hard thing was, believe it or not, I don't like doing leg day at the gym. So I got in the garage, hit the legs really hard. I thought this is day one of the program. This would be perfect to just knock out my least favorite workout activity. So got a ton of squats in and some lunges, a lot of single leg work. So feeling pretty good. But yeah, like I said, overall, guys, I'm looking forward to showing you guys the routine after a week, talking about my results. I'm going to break down all of Andrew's routine into individual criteria, and we'll talk about what I liked, what I didn't like, and if I'm going to continue using it. So I'm going to give a full breakdown at the end of this video. Other than that, looking forward to the week, and I'll see you guys on the other side. So after doing this routine for 7 straight days, I got to say that I actually feel really good. I feel great, actually. And the biggest thing that I got out of this was the science behind why we do a lot of these things in our routine. I know in a lot of routines, people say, well, take cold showers or go for an afternoon walk or meditate. But what helped me specifically in this routine was the why behind it, what it's actually meant to do. Knowing that, it helped me look for that response after the fact. So, for example, the light directly in your eyes, I looked to feel energized. And, a lot of people may say, oh, that's a placebo effect. That's what you expected. But for me, it kind of helps knowing the response that I'm looking for when I'm trying to do something. So now in this part of the video, I'm just going to briefly talk about the routine, how I divided it up, how I structured it, a little bit of the science, and hopefully it will give you the knowledge you need to take some of this or take all of it and make your own routine. I do want to make a quick note that Andrew recommends a load of different habits that you can implement in your routine. I didn't do every single thing that Andrew recommended. There's a lot more on his channel that he explains has great benefits, but really for my lifestyle and what I was trying to get out of this routine, some of that stuff didn't really make a lot of sense for me at the time. That's not to say that it wouldn't make sense at a different phase of my life, but I would recommend that you check out his channel and see what other things he has to offer about creating your own routine. So now let's jump into phase one. I decided to call phase one this morning routine because it's really a primer to get you ready for the day. The things I did in this particular part of the routine, from waking up to getting ready to work, was getting light in my eyes, salt water, 10 minutes of movement, cold shower, some sunlight, and yoga nidra or NSDR. Now for me, the biggest takeaway in this entire morning routine section was getting that light first thing in the morning. The science behind it is what makes it really fascinating and makes me want to continue doing this for my own daily routine moving forward. He talks about the purpose of this is because you get this boost of cortisol once every 24 hours called the cortisol pulse. This cortisol pulse sets your alertness, your focus, and your mood. And you want this to happen as early in the day as possible. It's what sets your circadian rhythm so you can wake up at a certain time, go to bed at a certain time, and create that routine. It's actually the light first thing in the morning that sets this pulse. Once you get that light in your eyes, 16 hours from that point, your brain is going to release melatonin, that chemical that makes you tired. And this is all stuff that I got off of Andrew's podcast. So check it out. Great information. One major note that he makes on this is that you want this to be fairly early in the day. A lot of people that sleep in really late and they get this cortisol pulse after noon, it leads to things like anxiety, depression, and obviously trouble sleeping. So the earlier you can get this going, the more regulated you're going to be. Then after that, you go for the salt water, and that's meant to hydrate you, but also it releases some cortisol without stressing your adrenals. So again, another effective part in this cortisol pulse. So keep in mind on this morning part of your routine, one of the major goals is to increase your body temperature. So the 10 minutes movement comes in. He mentions that you can go for a walk, you can go for a jog. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Just try to get a sweat going, try to get your body temperature up. Then we get into the cold shower. So there's a lot of different people out there saying that you should implement cold showers into your routine, but there's not a lot of parameters behind it. So Andrew recommends 1 to 3 minutes in the cold shower at about 45 degrees. He also mentions that when you get this cold water on you and you get that shock, that's a signal of adrenaline. That adrenaline is also going to help you wake up your brain. But really the interesting part of the cold shower is that it's a dopamine release. And compared to these more pleasure-seeking types of dopamine releases like scrolling or pornography or something like that, it's a slow release of dopamine, meaning that you feel that adrenaline high a lot longer. Once you hop out of that cold shower, your body starts to rush blood to warm your body back up. Again, trying to get that body core temperature higher. Then I finally finished off my morning part of the routine, this phase 1 with some yoga nidra or NSDR. At this point, I'm feeling hyped and ready to go, but I need to get my mind centered and under control. So that's why I decided to put the yoga nidra right before I started my deep work. I've never really done a lot of guided meditation, so this was so helpful in terms of just being able to relax and just be in the moment. Now we'll talk a little bit about phase 2. Started with a delay in caffeine, some deep work for 1 to 2 sessions, lunch after intermittent fasting, NSDR, and another deep work session. First, the caffeine delay. Now, this is something that I didn't have any knowledge about, so I actually thought this was one of the more interesting parts of the entire routine. Now, Andrew recommends waiting 90 to 120 minutes after waking to have some caffeine. And the reason for this is that caffeine blocks adenosine. This adenosine is what makes you tired. So when you block that, unfortunately, it doesn't last, so you tend to want more and more caffeine. Then before you know it, the afternoon comes and you start to get that afternoon crash. The structure of this routine, by priming yourself in the morning and then delaying that caffeine, it eliminates the afternoon crash. There wasn't one day through this entire routine that I felt tired, even after eating during lunch. I felt very level in terms of my energy and never had that feeling that I was getting too tired and I needed a nap. Now, there was a couple times on the 90 minutes of deep work that I did get a little tired, but after I spent the 30 minutes of idle time, I felt fully recovered. Now, I talked about the 90 minutes of deep work in the video, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but Andrew does stress that it's a guide to hit 90 minutes. So if you can't hit it, it's no big deal. It's up to 90 minutes. So maybe you have to build up 30 minutes here or 60 minutes. But that 30 minutes of idle time, that's where you want to really decompress and not stress your mind out with more tasks. That's a time to recover and refresh your mind. Next, the intermittent fasting approach. So I'd never really done intermittent fasting much at all. I'd done it here and there, but never stuck with it really more than a couple days. And this was actually the longest that I'd ever stuck with intermittent fasting. And overall, I actually liked it quite a bit. The main thing that I'll say is structuring your meals in a way that Andrew does, where it's lower carb in the afternoon for lunch. It sets yourself up for success as far as maintaining your energy level. And that's the best part about that entire way of eating. I'm not saying no carb, but my carbs actually came in the form of vegetables, not breads or anything processed like that. When it came to the Yoga Nidra and NSDR session in the afternoon, I'll probably drop this one moving forward. Some days I felt a little more focused than others, and I didn't necessarily need that recalibration during the day. I think it's great in the morning because it helps set your mind in this very centered state. But in the afternoon, sometimes I just felt like it got in the way. So moving forward, I probably won't do this particular part in the afternoon. But overall, I do like it as part of your routine, more so in the morning. Now, phase 3, the final phase of the day for me, This included a workout, eating dinner, and going into low light. Now, like I mentioned, Andrew likes to work out in mid-morning, but it doesn't really work with my schedule, so I pushed it to 4:30. I really liked putting my workouts here because it allowed my dinner to be more impactful in terms of my recovery. Andrew generally has a higher carbohydrate meal at dinner because he's mentioned that it helps him sleep better, and he's not worried about maintaining that level of energy he needs during the day. And then finally, dimming the lights and starting to slow down for the nightcap. Now, in the past, I'd not really done this part of my routine at all, and I regret it because I saw a lot of benefits off this part. It's very tough with the habits that we have, the lives we live, to dim the lights, reduce screen time, and just try to wind down. We're always so fast paced, and I struggle with this. So, this part of the routine was actually very beneficial, and I saw a lot of immediate results from it. I felt like I slept better. I felt like I woke up more rested, and I just felt a little more organized going to sleep. I felt like my mind was much calmer, which to me was probably the best part. So, one final note to mention, this goes for the entire day, is that Andrew does one cognitively hard thing and one physically hard thing a day. He doesn't set parameters on it, he just makes it a point. So, whatever you have that is cognitively hard, try to make it a point to complete that during the day. Pick a task that is physically hard, whether it's a workout or whether it's something that, requires you to just use your hands, and you'll start to notice a sense of accomplishment. And overall, it'll just enhance your well being. So, after 7 days, I do have to say that most of this routine, I'm going to keep in my own daily routine. I hope I gave you guys some valuable tips or just some direction in starting your own routine. So if you have any questions or comments, just drop them below. Happy to answer them. And check out Andrew's Huberman Lab podcast for all this great information. You definitely won't regret it. I'll catch you guys on the next one.